Aloha and welcome to the Flow Riders. What is cracking, people? Hey, today we got a good show going on, so you know what it is. If you are brand news around here and trying to get it twisted, make sure that you represent yourself in the comments. If you have any questions, make sure you let us know about those as well, because we will be here getting all those questions answered. But today we are going to be just me. Katie is traveling. Luis is in the back doing his little production type situation as he tends to do. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, I'm just making a couple of little adjustments over here to my little set, and we're going to call it a day. All right, we're going to breathe it out, and we're going to start this here show. We are ready. We are ready. Count it down, Luis, and 5, 4. Aloha, Flow Riders, and welcome to the Flow. Today is just me. Katie is traveling, and we are on the Flow number 121. Hold on, Luis. We're going to do that again because my throat decided to just do what it did right then. Don't you hate that? Oh, my God. Look, anybody got one of these? If you got one of these, let me know. Ooh. Don't. That could have been terrible. That could have been terrible. Let's try that again. Aloha, Flow Riders, and welcome to the Flow. It is me, Doc Rock. This week, Katie is out because she is traveling. And today, we're going to talk about this really important subject matter. And we're going to be talking about trends and how trend jacking can kind of backfire. It's almost more important that you do something that's timeless, because timeless, aka evergreen content, just kind of lasts forever. So yeah, it is one of those things where it could be a little bit, I wouldn't say it's dangerous, but you got to be careful of sort of what happens, right? So you'll hear oftentimes that when you're in a pinch, go out and do something sort of thematic or do something trendy. And while it can work, now I won't say that it doesn't work. It's probably not good. A lot of times what happen is you'll get a bump because of that trend, and then you might attract brand new people because of some trend, but they don't stay with you. They don't stick around. So what we want to do is kind of get you. Hi, Caleb. What we want to do is kind of get you started on creating something that's timeless. And while you can add a little bit of theme to it, you got to sort of find a way to remind folks that, it's just a theme. Like, okay, I wouldn't call it during a Christmas season or a holiday season or something like that a trend, because those come back. Those are considered timeless. I'm trying to think of a really popular trend right now. One that I thought was kind of huge back in the day, but it's not a big deal, is every once in a while there's these weird quote unquote diet fads. So this really helps in like the sort of health and fitness and cooking and things like that. And for some reason, like everybody and their mother were on the same sort of cooking trend. And then they found out that it's either unhealthy or unsustainable or, bad for the farmers or dangerous just in general, right? So it could cause that problem, right? So Crafty Adventures, how you doing, Caroline? She said, I've done it and I found that it confuses the algorithm and it wasn't sure what to do with me. Oh, I am so glad you brought that up. We got some new things about the algorithm that you're going to absolutely enjoy. And it's really funny. Yesterday on my channel, I literally just made this video. And the bad part is I just threw the graphic away in the trash, so I can't dig it out to show you. But YouTube has made some really massive changes, and it's been over the last 2 or 3 weeks. So this is going to be really helpful for people who still think the algorithm is out to get you. Um, they're forever. That's why it's funny to hear people talk about like how to work the algorithm, because YouTube changes it basically every day. They have a massive staff of people whose entire job is to make sure that the viewers are getting the content that they want specifically. That is the only job of the algorithm. The algorithm's job is not to serve your video to people. The algorithm is not designed so that you could, get more views or get more subscribers. That's your job. The algorithm's job is to, when Kevin says that Kevin wants to watch a video about, I don't know, making Christmas cookies, because I don't know if y'all know, but Kevin can make some killer cookies. So if he's looking for some new Christmas cookie designs, and speaking about trend jacking, let's say this is weird. I'm gonna have to back this up to Halloween. Let's say he's trying to make some Wednesday Halloween cookies because that show is still kind of popular. Or oh my God, what's the green one? Grande, Wicked. Yeah, maybe he's trying to make some Wicked cookie or some Elizabeth or whatever the heck her name is, and he's looking for things of that. That's almost transacting, but not really. In a way, that's sort of working with you know a theme that's extremely popular, and yeah, I guess is kind of transacting, but it's still in the same context of doing cookies if he's doing cookies for his cookie show, right? That's a little bit different. But what YouTube has changed recently, and this is big. I just had a conversation with a very prominent YouTuber, one of the originals, by the way, when I was in Seattle, and one of the things that he put us onto is long form content is back in a very, very, very big way, right? Things like this podcast, things like anybody who's doing a show that's 30 minutes or longer, all of those are seeing spikes in views. And the reason for that is something that we talk about on this show all the time: television. So many people are watching from TV. So YouTube is going out of their way to make it easier for people who are sitting at the TV trying to watch videos to find the videos that they're looking for. So one of the things that they did is, instead of just dealing with search, because search doesn't really work on TV, because unless you have an Apple TV or Amazon Fire Stick and you know how to talk to your remote, if you've ever been sitting on your TV and you go to search for something, it takes forever to type in what you're looking for. Now, some nerds have a keyboard that's attached to their smart TV, so you can just type. A lot of Apple TV people are smart enough to know that you can use your phone as a remote to type on the keyboard. And then some of the other ones are pull up the video on your phone, hit play for like 4 seconds, stop it, go back to the TV, and then, recapitulate that, right? But most people don't know that. I mean, that's only a handful of people. If you are, find it on your phone and then go back and pull it up on your TV, or are you like me? I actually have a playlist that I save videos into for the sole purpose of watching once I get to the TV and the couch and some, popcorn. It's going to be here for a minute, right? And when it comes to long form content, we're doing an experiment on my channel. I told a bunch of people to make a list of, you can go through your history or you can do it today, just starting now. Make a list of the next 5 to 10 videos that you sit down to watch the whole thing that are like over 30 minutes, and watch what you watch. And 9 times out of 10, you'd be like, wow, this is incredible, but it normally isn't overly produced. It's normally people sitting down having a conversation, sort of like we're doing today. That has been the trend thus far. So I'm curious if you could look in your history and then pop some into the chat and see what it is that you watch when you got time to sit down and watch YouTube. Because the gurus of late have been telling everybody make this really fast hitting things with a lot of edits, and got to make sure you put in a screen change in the first couple of seconds. And it's like, nah, man, that stuff is kind of going out the window because people are looking to connect with people. So what makes a video timeless? Let's talk about that. Of course, there's your storytelling, right? And so, if we're keeping it on the subject, hold on. I saw the question at the same time. I saw the question at the same time I was about to go to the next segment. And so I'm going to pause and go back to the question because it's a good question and it's a valid point to what I was just talking about. So thank you, Analyzing the News, because the question is, do you believe that people are changing, wanting more authentic content due to AI saturation? The answer is yes. Uh, AI is nowhere near saturated, but nothing is ever saturated. That terminology. Okay, Katie gets mad at me when I say that. Okay, but we're going to lean into this one. The terminology of something being saturated on the internet is victim talk. I'm gonna tell you why. YouTube alone, 2.9 billion people. What would be the quantity of people doing something to equate to saturation on 2.9 billion people? So let's back this up. Let's say you have a sponge, and the sponge could hold 10 ounces of water. How many ounces of water does it take for a 10-ounce sponge to be saturated? 10. Other than that, it's wet. Let's go define saturation. Like, let's get real about this, right? So I know that everybody uses that word, and you probably picked it up as a term of art because you've heard other people say it, and this is just what it is. But in order, if we're being serious about this, the only way for something to be saturated is it has to have more than its capability of holding. So trust me, all 2.9 billion active users on YouTube are not using AI, so therefore it's not saturated. It's not even 50%. It might be like a hard 15 to 20, and I doubt that. But just because of access, really, right? A large portion of the people on there don't have full access to this stuff, right? So it's we have full access. A couple of the other, let's say, more communicative or connected societies have it, but a whole bunch of people just watching, they don't necessarily have that. So, but it is true that AI slop is irritating and it's prevalent and people don't like it. So yes, people are definitely going back to wanting more human connection. So that's sort of what I meant, but I did forget to bring up the AI part. So thank you for bringing that up because it is a very, very, very valid point. So absolutely, people are looking for people that looks like them, feels like them, talks like them, gives them a little hope, right? I think a lot of people are searching for hope. I think a lot of people are searching for that connectivity that we are used to getting, but can sometimes seem a little bit missing, if you will. So yeah, I really, really appreciate that. That is 100% true. Okay, let's go into what I was fixing to say. So what makes a content timeless? And the first one is storytelling, and a prime example of this is I watch a lot of content of people who are traveling somewhere, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that I travel a lot for work. I am always looking for tips and shortcuts and things that I might need to carry that are going to make my travel situations easier because as you guys know, I'm in the plane like once a month or something. So, I'm always looking for a way to cut this down. Well, it turns out the ones that are the most, I guess, enjoyable to watch is where they're stopping at the different places, giving you a little bit of backstory, talking about the place. And anybody who's ever got to hang out with Ken in Amesbury, you'll see that's Ken. Ken all the way. Ken is about the history. Ken is telling you like why the building was made, like who came where, why, and the whole 9 yards. Like it just adds to a certain thing. Those of us that walked around in the forest at camp, Ken was giving us a little bit more of a backstory of some of that stuff as opposed to just walking and seeing it. So me and Billy and Eshawn and Brandon, we all went walking through the forest with Ken, and we got a whole like tour. It was different. It was super super cool. Storytelling can do that. So, I'm thinking about if you're doing your crafts and you're explaining something, but then giving a little bit of backstory. So the last time I tried to do this particular type of stitch. I was hanging out with my grandma and she was showing us, with no machine, she could do this by hand and it was always even. But here we are, we got to use a little wheel thing that you use to make the dents so you can sew it in the right spot. I have no idea what I'm talking about, by the way. Or, she used to wind the bobbins by hand, but now we could do them automatically. Things like that. Like there's ways to bring in that level of human emotion, right? Because human emotion doesn't expire. So, how can you create a sense of marvel? How can you create a sense of curiosity? The big one right now, looking at us old people, how can you create that nostalgia? One of the funnest things that happened in the longest time is myself and Paul and Gretchen, AT, Aubrey, the other Paul. It was my birthday stream, and we were sitting around talking about just old stuff that used to be on TV. We were talking about them Tupperware cups everybody had that came in those weird colors, but then they get stained with the red from the Kool-Aid or whatever you put in it. And we were talking about like the thing that you put on the cake tin that moms used to take off and wear your ass out with. Like it was pretty funny, but we went down memory lane. Like we were coming up with old medicines and commercials and stuff that don't exist anymore, and just the look on everybody's face and the people in the chat were going off as we were bringing it back that old school stuff that we all grew up with. You know, like somebody bust out a picture of Otter Pops. You remember you was a little kid and you was trying to be good so that you could get an Otter Pop, the little like plastic with the sugar water inside. Like Otter Pops were life, man. Like that was the best thing. Like, oh, and you remember the days when going to McDonald's meant you did something? Like you couldn't just go to McDonald's to go to McDonald's. You had to like win a basketball game or win a soccer game or get like some A's. The idea of just going to McDonald's because you're hungry, we didn't have that. McDonald's meant you did something worth not getting your butt whipped. That's what that meant. So that level of nostalgia, if you could find a way to bring that in, that's going to go a long way to help you. And this is where doing a podcast really helps. There are whole podcasts that are nothing about going back and getting nostalgic with it, right? Also, I think it's why, strangely enough, I don't know if Michelle popped in yet, but strangely enough, oh, she's here. This is why Bridgerton and those shows like that are so hot. They're so hot because it has a level of nostalgia to it. You know what I mean? It's really, really good. So I do find that to be a little bit amazing. Okay, so let me answer this question. It says, I spent hours on one video and got 8 views. I got you. And then another video I did where I was talking to my missus about a subject hit 33,000 in a few hours. What do you think that was? You already answered your own question, homie. Like the worst thing you could do today, over edit your videos. Because, all right, so let's make this make sense. If I were going to take up, say I was going to take up baseball in my old age, right? I'm going to go join the over 50 baseball league. You know who I'm not trying to learn how to hit from? Shohei. Because you can't get to that level. Not at where you are in life. If I was going to teach a kid how to play baseball, maybe I would put them on Shohei. Maybe I would take them to his training camp that's in Yokohama. But I'm not myself going to take my old butt over there. I cannot attain that. But I would go to a camp from some 45-year-old dude who's hitting them out of the park. I can catch him. You know what I mean? People want to know that the person that they're watching isn't so far ahead of them, especially older people. We don't need another hero. Most of our heroes turned out to be absolute eggplant emojis. Think about those of us that grew up listening to that prime era of hip hop, right? Like you talking about 96 hip hop. Who was the top producer in 96 hip hop back in the day? I tell you what, he in jail right now. Like, with some baby oil. Like most of our heroes blew up, turned out to be absolute. I can't say that word on this show. So we're not looking for another hero. We're looking for somebody that, again, reminds us of us, looks like us, sounds like us. Sitting down and having a real deal Holyfield conversation with wifey makes people feel like, yo, fam, I felt that. Okay, I'm new to my ADHD journey. To me, when I was growing up, ADHD just meant butt whippings. It didn't mean that you needed some help. And when I see content from other people that are just also like late figuring out what's been tweaking in their brain for so long, every time one of them is talking, I'm like, oh yeah, oh that's me. I get that one. Oh yeah, you too. Okay, I'm not by myself. Start singing "You Are Not Alone" because you're there. Jeremy said, "Where's the beef?" How's that for nostalgia? Right? When you when I'm watching Jimmy, okay, Jimmy just popped up in the chat. Jimmy Hicks, right? When I'm watching him in his streams and he says something, because we are both men that have spent time in tech, relatively the same age, both worked for the same fruit flavored company for a minute. Like when he be talking about stuff, I'm like I could feel that because like Jimmy and I have walked a very similar path, and I'm just instantly connected to that. Like Jimmy is like family. You know what I mean? Like we check in each other. You know what I mean? So that's what people are looking for. They're looking for that level of connection, that level of community. And unfortunately, too many people have been trying to be guru centric. And people are just over the gurus, man. Most of the gurus turned out to be full of it. Do you remember not that long ago, a whole bunch of us was sitting around watching Mehmet Oz, and he said took raspberry ketones. Dude, you could not walk into Whole Foods or Walmart or Target without seeing 4 shelves of raspberry ketones. Turns out them joints was BS, right? Like that dude, he had everybody on everything. He had people like checking the acid levels in their number ones. He had people doing all kind of weird stuff that turned out to not be healthy. But he made a whole channel out of trend jacking various health trends, most of which turned out to be bad for you. And I don't know, if I remember correctly, Dr. Atkins died of a heart attack. Because that was a trend back in the day, right? So if I remember correctly, it was like there, right? So I have a video I made recently called "Make It Until You Make It," and that's literally just keep doing it. You know what I mean? And if you go back and you look at what was it, if you go back and watch that show where you and the missus got those 33,000s, go back and look at it from a new set of eyes. Try and look at it as to what do you think stuck with that? And I guarantee y'all was on some really good story about something that brings us to like back in the day when I was young and not a kid anymore, or there was some sort of nice heartfelt transition that people could go on a hero's journey type situation. It was something like that that added that little je ne sais quoi to that particular show, and that's why that one worked. And what you want to do is try to get those, but then don't force it. Of course, don't force it. Okay, now the other thing that's going to make something timeless is going to be your authenticity. And this word drives me insane because it is so overly used and misunderstood. And I like the way that the GOAT, Seth Godin, explains it. Authenticity is about you know exactly what you're going to get. So, for instance, when you go to McDonald's, I don't go to McDonald's. I'm probably talking out the side of my butt. I haven't put a McDonald's in my face for damn near 20 years. I don't eat that mess. But if you go to McDonald's and you go to order one of them sugar shakes, you know exactly what you're finna get. Stomach ache and diarrhea. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what it tastes like. The thing about going on a trip or going to somewhere new and looking at their menu and seeing things that are familiar to you in sound, and then you get it and it just don't hit the way the one you know what it is, right? So if I invite Luis over to my house right now, and I'm like, Luis's favorite thing is a ham and manchego sandwich. Now I know a Puerto Rican kid from the hood ain't never had a ham and manchego sandwich until the one he had in Massachusetts. Cause we got the four meats in a pack. Oscar Mayer, you open it up, and there was ham, bologna, luncheon meat, and that one with the dots. We call olive loaf, but nobody wanted the one with the dots back in the day. Turns out mortadella, when you become an adult, that's delicious. But when you was a kid, it was just like, yo, why is the meat looking at me? And he got that joint with Wonder Bread. And sometimes the Wonder Bread had like a little spot, and moms just cut it off. It wasn't even like, oh, you can't eat that one. We know better now. Don't eat that one because the fingers of the mold digs like way deep into the product. But hey, back when we was growing up, moms just be like, whoop, all right, you didn't even see that. Don't worry about it. It's good, right? But if Luis came to my crib right now and I try to like hook my brother up and make him a ham and mortadella sandwich, he might be thankful, but he also might look at me sideways and be like, damn, son, I thought you could cook. I'm like, I can. But he'd be like, yeah, nah, this one don't taste like bakehouse. I can't make it taste like bakehouse. Why? I don't bake my own bread. I don't have the necessary, ingredients to pull it off the exact way that bakehouse pulled it off. So my brother would be appreciative that I tried to make his favorite sandwich, but he also would be like, nah, fam, manchego in Hawaii don't taste like manchego in New Hampshire or Massachusetts. Because by the time it gets here on the boat, it's old. Like it just won't have the same vibe to it. So that's what authenticity is. Authenticity is giving the people what they expected. So let's break this down in a nutshell. Here's my favorite personal example of authenticity. And if I recall correctly, Jimmy was there. James was with me. We were in a conference in social media marketing world. And I remember meeting a creator who I had seen on the television lots, who had like a style and a swag and a little savoir faire. And then when we met this person in person, they couldn't barely complete a sentence because it wasn't scripted. They didn't have the ability to have an authentic conversation with the people that they, inspire with their elegant words because everything was scripted. You see what I'm saying? Those of you guys trying to get the perfect speech, the worst thing that will happen to you is you will get to go somewhere and do that joint in public and you can't do it. Somebody going to catch you at the bar. Okay, Jimmy, we had a lot of drinks, but I remember this. I know that you and Roger bought the last two. After the drinks after that, I don't remember, and I remember riding a scooter home with Kurt, trying to get back to the telly. But we was at the bar enjoying a tasty beverage, some water that's soaked in the barrel for a couple of years, and we're having a full conversation. And yo, this person just couldn't be part of the thing. And I think, between Roger, Jimmy, myself, Rebecca from Opus, we were kind of like, that's the same dude from the TV? This is why you don't want to be perfect on camera, because if you can't be perfect in your everyday conversation, you will get sold out. Ugh, I just bit my tongue. You will get sold out. And if you get sold out, now you have lost all credibility. And it could be like, oh, well, maybe this person just had a bad day. It was COVID time. Maybe they was coming off of sick. Maybe somebody in their family is sick and they worried. Okay, whatever. Okay, cool. Wait till the next meeting. See them like a year later. Nope, same thing. And to this day, if I could pull up one of their videos, they clean. They perfect. The editor in the Philippines make them look like they know what they're talking about. But in reality, they don't know what they're talking about. This is why people who have huge channels on TikTok try to do an event and nobody show up. Because it's not the same. You got, Luis is in the chat. Luis will back me on this. There are people right now. Jeremy's a good example. When the boys are together, we're clowning jokes, we're cracking jokes in the chat. Jeremy's funny as heck, right? But can he do stand up? No, it's different, bro. You got that funny friend, you got that funny uncle, you got that one cousin that will have you in stitches. That person step on the stage and try to do stand up and get cabbages thrown at him because it's not the same, right? It's kind of like that. So the big deal is going to be, honestly, and we say this all the time and it's very cliche, is the consistency, fam. If you can give out this very consistent situation, that's what your people are looking for. And what's cool is people like to know that they watched you grow, like they seen you come on a come up. Like people like to feel like they've been there the whole time. That to me is better. That to me is better. I see that Dan's in the chat. Dan's a good example, right? Because we come from the music world. Dude, there's tons of musicians that be mad polished in the studio joint, but you see them live and you're like, whoa, what was that? Right? You be like, yo, I definitely been to concerts where I seen the performer and they can't perform, bro. Like they're dope, what we call studio musicians. Like the album is clean, but the show is dookie. Like you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be that person, right? Okay, so think about, you know, here's a question. Here's a question for the chat. If you're watching this on the replay, feel free to drop this in the comment section below. Is there a interview or a live video that you watched maybe 3-4 different times over the course of, say, a couple of months or a couple of years because it was so good and the value was there and you guys keep going back to watch it? One of my favorite ones that I've definitely watched on multiple occasions was an interview with Bruce Lee from back in the day. And I always go back to that interview because I do, teach some of my students like how to do interviews. And I use this interview as an example because the host was genuinely curious like a little child. Like it literally was one of those just like really incredible interviews. And I watched that interview over and over again. That's kind of what you want, man. You want to be making something that somebody can come back and watch later. And they come back and watch later, and then you you got them, right? And that's a level of consistency or authenticity that you're looking for. That's where you're connecting back to even like how to market your podcast. You might have an episode where you guys talked about some really, really fire content, right? So if you can reference an older show and say like, hey, go back and check out this episode, right? There's in every podcast, you'll hear this. They have one episode that they consider their like paramount episode and they can bring people back to it and check it over and over again. We recently did an episode with Jeff C. I can call back to that episode over and over again because he just hit all the bricks when it came to doing sort of AI work, right? That would be a perfect example of one of these episodes. So if you think about this, if you could take something that's popping off right now. So for instance, we talked a minute ago about AI slop. And we could use that same context in videos that's created by like humans that won't last very long. So for instance, we'd look real corny making a video about 6'7", like it wouldn't make any sense to us. And your kids would probably look at you crazy. My niece would look at me like, "Unks, what are you doing?" But yeah, it wouldn't make any sense for us to make a video like that. Now, as a commercial thing, maybe that would be funny. But yeah, like for the marketing standpoint of it, no, it wouldn't make any sense. Like that would just seem out of context, right? So you really want to think about that. And again, you can. This is why I have such an visceral. I'm going to speak English. This is why I have an exact visceral reaction. That just didn't come out right. Didn't come out right. It makes me nauseous when I watch really bad reaction videos. Reaction videos in itself are semi lazy. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna be mean. I know people are mad because they make reaction videos. If you make reaction videos, my bad. But they're semi lazy because you're not necessarily creating anything original. Now, is it possible to create reaction videos that have an originality to them? Absolutely. You know how we know? Because we watch that joint on what's Terry Bradshaw and the rest of the old crooked non can walk in play anymore football people. The Sunday morning football shows. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm trying to pick up one. Those are basically a live reaction video. They're giving you their, post game. They're telling you what happened in the game. They give you those are different, right? If you could bring something to the table like that, we know that they work because people watch those, right? Um, but like just watching somebody say something and then saying what you feel about it, I don't know. To me, it's a little bit reductive and a little bit lazy. But there is a way to pull them off, and if they're done right, they're good. But unfortunately, what people saw is somebody do a real good job of doing that. Somebody blew up doing that, and they're like, "Yo, I could copy this formula and I can blow up the same way." But what a lot of reaction videos lack is in order to be a good reaction video host, you have to have a large method of depth and insight where you can add something new to the situation, right? So when Game of Thrones were out, and there were the people that were doing the fan theory shows where they're going all off the deep end trying to figure out Brandon Stark and trying to figure out if he is indeed the three-eyed raven or is he the Night King or is he, this, that, and the third. Those are good, right? But somebody just goes, look at the scene. Oh, that happened. No, you're just spoiling the show for somebody who ain't seen it yet, right? So there's a way to do that and come out with those. Um, yes, I do channel evaluations. I'm gonna tell you, most people are not ready to have one. So the question from C was, Doc, do you ever do Do you ever do channel evaluations? Yes. You're going to need therapy when I'm done, because I'm gonna tell you stuff that you're not gonna want to hear. So, but I can do it. I've done it. People cry, and not my fault. I'm just telling you the actual facts because YouTube is simple. YouTube is very simple. The biggest problem, and Analyze News kind of told you this earlier, the biggest problem is people are trying to do stuff to force the engagement. People are trying to do something to force the views. That's not your job. Your only job is deliver value. Make content that hits people right here, bring a little tear, bring a little smile, make them save money, make them save time, helps them out in some way. If your content is serving, you will be fine. If your content is self-serving, you will not be fine. It's the simplest recipe in the planet. If you're doing this because you want people to look at you and go, hey, attaboy, you did it, you're probably going to suffer. But if you're creating content and it can make somebody's life better, oh, you're doing good. Yeah. If you can make somebody's life better, you're doing good. All right, so let's get into this idea of building from value standpoint as opposed to virality. Okay, dude, you cannot go. You cannot if you pull up videos on the interweb right now about content creation, the how to, out of the first 20 videos, maybe 8 of them, 10 of them are trying to tell you how to go viral. You absolutely 108% do not want to go viral. You just don't. And I'm going to ask you in the chat, in the replay, what was the most viral video of 2022? I can wait. What was the most viral video of 2021? I can wait. Matter of fact, I'll make it easy for you. What was the most viral video of 2024? I don't see nobody typing in the chat. You know why? Because you don't freaking know. You just don't. Right? You just don't. It's not important, bro. It is a bump. Like, except for a handful of people, they couldn't tell you what the number one song was in 2019. Louise says some girl on TikTok. All right, I'll give you half the points. But nobody knows, bro. Nobody knows. It is not important. And the people who are teaching you this stuff, they're smart, dude. They're good business people. People who will sell you a program on how to make viral content are brilliant business people. At the beginning of this show, I said, you got to bring that emotions, right? I mentioned how emotions, if you can get to people where their emotions are, you're good to go. I was about to sing the song. You know how I do. It almost got me. I'm gonna stop. Sorry, Mariah, leave me alone, lady. I'm thinking. If you can trigger someone's emotional feelings, trigger their nostalgia, they got you, right? You're in there. So when these people are like, I'm going to show you how to make viral videos, they get you on your emotion of hope. They get you on your emotion of being seen. They get you on your emotion of quote unquote being somebody. And even if you can pull it off once, most people who have pulled it off tell you that they can't do it again. Like it is an X. The fact that today, the company that sells the frog suit is sold out of frog suits, they couldn't have planned that. There's no way in heck they thought when they built them joints that this was going to be the number one selling costume for Halloweeny 2025. There's no way. They thought it was going to be the Huntrix outfit. They thought it was going to be K-pop Demon Sleemans. They had no idea it was going to be the frog, the blow-up frog. So trying to chase that, it's like I'm going to go outside and I'm going to catch lightning in a bottle. That's the reason why they call it, when a product blows up like that, that's the reason why marketing people call it catching lightning in the bottle, because it's super, super rare. However, if you working off of your values, if you're creating content based on your values, bingo. And I'll take apart something. Like, I'm curious, where my Star Wars people at? Star Wars people will know this, or maybe they don't. George basically created Star Wars off of an Akira Kurosawa film. He saw this film and he loved the stylistic, he loved the hero's journey, he loved the transitions, like he loved everything about it. And he basically modeled the entire empire off of a Kurosawa film. And what makes this day, if you were to watch an AK film, the reason why you will even be intrigued by something that was shot when Paul was in high school, I mean, black and white, is because that person made those videos based on his values. He was trying to show the beauty and the art and the the journey. I hate to say trials and tribulations because it's an overworked statement, but he was trying to show all those things. There's the contrast of these tight woven battles and the speed of Munehiro as he's working his way through the battles. And then the next contrast is there's a person running across a barren sand and another person chasing him across the barren sand. And Kurosawa was so dope with it, like when something was about to pop off, the weather almost became one of the combatants. George worked all of that. George worked all of that into Star Wars. And this is where you're able to, like you're building something based on value though. It wasn't just artistic. It was also based off of his personal values. So when you are sharing something and you are sharing, like I tell people, your purpose is key. And yesterday, if you watched the video with Brandon and YC, Chris mentioned purpose like 5 times, and not a single point that Chris mentioned the word passion. And I sat here like uncle because I was like, they get it. They get it. The amount of people that would tell you to chase your passions, I'm like, them people are crazy. And the ones that tell you to chase their passions, ask them, are you still with your first girlfriend or boyfriend? And they'd be like, no. The person I married, I'm on my 3rd marriage, by the way. Oh, this is my 3rd wife. And it's like, then why are you telling people to chase passions? Because they're fleeting. They disappear. They go away. You don't stand on them. But on purpose is the modern or the older equivalent of standing on business. Like, this is my purpose. I know exactly what I'm going for, what I'm trying to do, and where people are, what I'm trying to serve. Like, that's what that's all about. So if you can bring that level of stuff to your content, figure out how you can work it in, right? If you are still unfamiliar, and I get it, if you're still unfamiliar, grab your little phone, put on the Chat GPT voice, and ask Juniper or whoever you have it set for, ask them to interview you to help you dig deeper into what your purpose is. Talk about trying to make sure that you're making content that sounds like you. I just legit made this video on how to get the AI to take your idea, but then interview you about that idea so that you could create the content based off your ideas, not exactly what the AI said. Because if you make the content directly off the AI content, it's going to sound like AI slop. So here's a good question. I got 2 questions. I'll do yours first because you're on the subject. What does passion mean to you, and how do you personally tap into it? I don't. Passion ain't nothing to do with it. Passion to me is a fruit. I live in Hawaii. Them some bitches is delicious. It don't mean nothing. I don't work on passion at all. Passion is fleeting, right? Like I am right now crazy, irritated, mad. Raiders is trash right now. It's killing me. It's hurting my soul. So you know what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting for the Celtics to jump off in the regular season so I can go back to watching my team win. A couple months back, if you asked me what I was passionate about, I was passionate about the Red Sox making it to the playoffs again. Nope, didn't happen. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can tell passion is fleeting. We go through that with our sports, if you're into that, right? We go through that with our music, if you're into that. I might be hardcore hip-hop this week, but I'll be all about jazz next week. And then I'll get into my classic era. That's why kids like to talk about they in their whatever season. Passion is BS, dog. Passion is BS. You all, like back before you met your missus, there was another person you ain't allowed to talk about no more, but you and Stacy was hot and heavy. Everybody thought y'all was perfect till y'all woke. Passion is BS. Purpose is real. Purpose is real. All right, let's go back to this. So, uh, Noma said, I tried doing the widget for the live stream chat. Is there a website you recommend? Um, I can't really get into that in the Flow podcast because that's not what this podcast is for. But we got tons of videos on how to do it. Just go to the Ecamm channel and search Ecamm and widget. That's it. Like there's tons. There's legit tons. But yeah, I don't. I also don't put the chat on the screen because that's asking for danger. YouTube doesn't like that very well. So, but yeah, you do you. If you like that, knock yourself out. I don't recommend it. It's a very dangerous situation. It can get your channel banned. I've watched channels of 80,000 subscribers taken off the air because somebody said something stupid in the on-screen chat, and it wasn't them. It was a viewer. It was a bot, and they still got their channel banned. So yeah, it's not really worth it. You have to know your audience really, really well. Okay, so the last thing is think about ways that you can build evergreen content. And again, this is one of those ones where AI is really good for helping you brainstorm. I think what people do is I've done it. A matter of fact, I've even showed you how to do it. People use AI to be like, yo, give me the next 10 topics for this video. And it will give you that. And then you go try to run that because those are good topic ideas. But those ideas might not mean anything to you directly. What you want to say is, okay, we're going to go through a process. I want you to ask me a bunch of questions to see what's top of mind to me about this particular subject. And it will ask you the questions. This is why voice works better than typing. Okay, so it's going to ask you a bunch of questions. It's like, okay, now formulate those into a list, and then let's pluck these off one by one, and let's go deeper. And so it's going to be like, okay, so you want to talk about how I'm going to use Analyzing News's question again. You want to talk, we'll make a video about how people are getting tired of the pointless AI videos and they're looking for more connectivity. Help me dive into this episode a little deeper. So interview me questions to make sure you're getting my viewpoint, my feelings, my understandings, and then see if we can together come up with a solution that we can offer the people and then some advice that's going to allow them to take some action and take away so it doesn't just turn into a bitch session. Juniper's like, bet, I got you. Here's your first question. What specifically about AI do you feel is starting to get on people's nerves? And I'm like, I don't know about people, but if me and Paul hear that one dude, be like, this man's a genius. We want to throw the phone across the room. I just made Paul flinch just now. Paul was like, ugh, because he heard that voice. Because, yo, that one drives me nuts. And me and Paul are on the same page about that one. This guy's a genius. Look at him. He put flour in a flower pot. Okay. Look, this man drilled a hole in the water bottle and squeezed water out. What? You guys see these? You guys see these on TikTok and IG? It's starting to leak into YouTube right now. Oh my God. It kills me. Kills me. This person didn't have a pair of pliers, so they put a nail in a screw and some duct tape and they twirled it and the screw came out. It's like, no, it didn't. Shut up. Anyway. So yeah, it's kind of like this, right? It's kind of like this. And if you can have a conversation, have it ask you to go deeper on stuff, have it help you take the things that you then said and formulate them into an outline and turn that outline into bullet points and then turn those bullet points into a script. Now it's your script. You wrote it, you just wrote it without one of these. As a matter of fact, if more people would write their scripts with one of these instead of a keyboard, your videos would come out better. Your brain just does something different. There is a level of feeling that you lose when you just... Paul hates when I do that. Sorry, Paul. There's a level of feeling that you lose. From the time it comes out of your brain to your fingertips, you lose it. Caleb will back me up on this because they've been doing their writing every day. And yo, you just come out a little bit more creative when you use a pen. Like, who knew? Who knew? I'm a hardcore tech advocate. I don't believe the phone is killing your mind. I believe that's just an excuse because you no longer want to connect with people because you're starting to figure out what fake folks is really like. But I have definitely believe that your brain is a little bit more creative when you use a pen and paper. And that might just be because I'm a fountain pen nerd. Maybe that's why I feel that way. But who cares? Have a conversation with your bot. Have a real deal conversation with your bot. Have it help it pull the best in you out instead of you trying to pull the best out of it. Where everybody says this is how you get your prompts. I said it. I'm guilty. I am guilty. Take me to jail tomorrow. I have told you how to get the best prompts out of your bot. I am asking you right now to stand up like Ludacris and flip the switch and ask the bot how to get the best out of you. Take that. Take that. Take that. I see you, Jimmy. That is it, dude, family. Like, for real. Like, this is going to be the game changer right there. If you can flip that and just try it, like, have a full conversation with your bot, man. Ask that bot to get up in there and help you get there. That's going to be the win. That is going to be the win. Last question. Like, what are your thoughts on radio? Radio is done. I am a 40-year radio veteran, and modern day radio is done. But you can bring radio to the YouTube, and it's a way incredible thing. Most of the stations are robot run now. It's lost that certain flair. Talk radio is still good. Like, I feel like it's there, but it's a dying trend. Yeah, it's just unfortunately they got lazy. They tried to take the companies like Clear Channel tried to not pay a body in every market to do the morning show, and 9 times out of 10, your morning show is nobody from your neighborhood anymore. It's somebody being piped in by satellite or technically internet. But like that, it just crushed it. And as a person who was a long year, 4 decade radio jock, it pains me. It pains me. It pains me because radio was the bomb, dude. It was a level of connectivity with strangers that, yeah, kind of the internet helped carry it, but it wasn't just the internet that crushed it. Because I was in 96 trying to tell my stations why we need to do our stations live on the internet instead of just over the terrestrial waves, and they fought me. They fought me like crazy. So my brother and I, we built our own underground radio station with the old PC and a whole bunch of K-pop songs. And yo, we were ice streaming for years. When the only way to listen to ice stream was Real Player and Winamp. Like how that's how old it is, you know. But podcasts eventually came with Icecast and Shoutcast were. Podcast is basically Icecast and Shoutcast fixed up. So yeah, I was into this joint long before it became called the podcast. Yeah, super cool stuff. Anyway, gang, that wraps it up for this show. I hope we was able to help you figure out like how to just dig deeper. Don't ever be slapped in the face by a video that didn't pop off the way you thought it was. That's just an opportunity for you to take some learnings, go back and try it again. But not doing it, actually, the number one thing that's probably slowing down growth is too much time between videos because it gives you too much time to fester and try to change more than one thing at a time. If you can stick to keep creating, change one thing at a time, get 1% better each time, learn from your mistakes, and keep taking swings, you're going to be good. You cannot hit 100 free throws with 55 shots. You might be able to hit 100 free throws with 1,000 shots. That's makes you a 10% shooter, but you still hit it. Now, I'm going to give you one last takeaway. There's this idea that somebody that you like is more talented than you. And all that means is they learned how to do what it is you're trying to do faster than you. Nobody is born with it. It ain't Maybelline. They swung more times. or they're just a more accurate swinger. But even an untalented person per se can catch up to the talented person with more practice. And then what normally happens, the person that did it through practice becomes better because they know what to do when something goes wrong. The person who had the benefit of, like, hitting a bunch of swishes, they can't replicate that. You know what I mean? This is why whenever they do those amateur versus the pro 3-point shot contests, every once in a while the amateur dude gets it, but that dude could not do it every week. Whereas somebody like Steph, automatic. JT, automatic. White, automatic. Brown, automatic. You know what I'm saying? Like Luka, automatic. Because Luka probably, it's season coming up. Luka Butt is out here taking free throws and 3-pointers today. As we speak, he's somewhere shooting. I bet you. Go to his Instagram. I bet you he's somewhere right now taking shots. Luka's still trash, but he's somewhere taking shots. Go Celtics. This show and every version of The Flow is brought to you by Shure Microphones. Yes, it's Shure Microphones. We love them. They are one of our favorite people to work with. And if you want to put 100 years of knowledge into your game that will make you sound that much better, then look no further than the Shure Microphones. They will put you on game. So if you want to find out more, go to Shure.com and tell them that Ecamm sent you. If you want to find out more about The Flow, you can find us at flow.ecamm.com. That's FLOW.ecamm.com. This will connect it to your favorite podcast catcher. Of course, we're here on YouTube. The recording is on Tuesdays. The live replay is a week later. And you can leave us questions there. You can leave us review there. You can apply to be a guest. The whole 9 yards. Go and check out flow.ecamm.com. And we want to thank you for always supporting the show, because we couldn't do this joint without you. Now, you know what we say around here. Flow Riders, out.